Fared Abini, thank you for joining us on the NS podcast, man. Appreciate you coming through. I know you're a big real estate Airbnb guru and doing a lot of cool stuff on that. So I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation and discussing that with you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, bro. Yeah, guru and a duru, because I'm also doing it in the entire business throughout every single process, every single day. So a lot of people online, they just teach people things that they actually haven't even done themselves, right? But I'm actually practicing what I'm preaching on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And you're right that there's a lot of stuff, a lot of people that aren't necessarily executing it. So I'm glad to see you're kind of growing your business and buying some properties yourself. So you were saying the majority of the properties you've been doing on the arbitrage method, that's almost like a property management play, I guess, eh? You're basically acting like a property manager for landlords, but at the same time you're actually leasing the places, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Let's just dive into that. Like, how long, let's say, are those leases usually that you're doing? Are you doing like 5 years?
Yeah, not 5 years, close. So like a normal traditional renter will come in and sign a lease for like a 12-month, 1 year term, sometimes even like 18-month. We come in and we just guarantee the entire 3 years, like guarantee their rent payments, and we sign a 3-year lease with them.
When you say guaranteed payments, you're just signing a lease for 3 years basically, or are you actually paying it up front?
No, we don't pay it up front, no.
Okay, so you're just signing a 3-year
We're signing a 3-year commitment, right?
Yeah.
And what that does is two things, obviously. It gives them more security and trust that we're committing to a long-term relationship with them. But it also gives us room to negotiate the price and bring it down as well. So that's why we also do that, is because it leaves us room for negotiation.
So the 3 years is a nice balance, because 5 year may be a little bit risky. You never know what could happen. 3 years is a nice little balance to negotiate. Years, like, you're not worth the investment, because then you're gonna build this business, and then who knows what landlord might pull out or
sell the house, right? So that's why we're trying
to 3 years.
We usually break even within our first year, even sooner.
Break even meaning you pay 3 years worth of lease payments.
Break even as in like upfront investment, right? So each average property will require you to put up like 20K. Right, sometimes 15
to get it ready for Airbnb.
25,
That's furniture and
furniture, first month's rent, security deposit, handyman, moving fees for furniture, building fee, like stuff like that. Takes around,
So do me a quick favor. Tell me how much, if you don't mind me asking, how much are you making in 3 years, all in, and how much are you spending? In 3 years, like, just roughly, what would those numbers look like? So you said 20,000 up front, and then what are you doubling the rent essentially or more?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So you break even within your first investment in the first year of having
break even is all the upfront costs, but not 3 years worth of rent.
No, of course not.
No, so just the upfront costs.
Upfront costs, yes. Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. So first year, all the profit pays the 20
off completely.
So you're basically making 20 a year. Profit. So then you got
sometimes even more.
So 20 to 25, let's say. So 20. So you're basically in 3 year term, you're going to be making 50 G's at the end of the day.
Profit, off just one deal, because the first year you broke even, and then I would say like net operating income after every single expense is paid for. You want to shoot for at least like $25,000 to $35,000 of profit per year.
Per property.
I think that's a good sweet spot. But it also depends on like how much money you're putting into the deal, what your cash on cash return is. There's a lot of other factors, but
So on the arbitrage, you're basically 25,000 a year is kind of the
sweet
that's
spot.
What you get. That's 25 to 35 or whatever it is. So I think that's good, but I definitely think that the ownership benefits
100%.
in the same model are much better, because now not only are you making that 25 potentially, depending on what your mortgage is, you actually pay, you're paying down the property, the asset's probably appreciating, and then all that other stuff comes into play. So that's interesting. So tell me about the program that you're kind of helping people build their business and equity. How does that work? I know you're helping them get some financing, build their credit and all that. Maybe just kind of run us down that.
So the issue with our younger generation in the US is that a lot of people have access to the information, but there's just so much information out there where like it's really impossible to do it yourself without avoiding any sort of mistake, any sort of financial loss or risk, right? So a lot of people in the US, what they do is they hire a mentor or a coach like me who's done it before, right? And so I'll come in And I'll pretty much break down the entire specifics of what I used to do when I was their age, right? So I would start out, create an LLC is the first thing, right? Structure out your company. The foundation's super important. This is what I tell people, right? Because it truly is. If you don't have a business incorporated in the States, you're going to be very limited to what you can do business-wise. An LLC protects you in any case of financial calamity, legal calamity, if someone trips and falls and breaks their leg on my property, right? Small things like that, but also it goes up very, very greater and can make a huge impact in getting loans, 0% credit cards, 0% interest, credit lines, right?
Are those 0%, are you getting them on the corpse or
on
the
personal? Corpse. Everything's on the corpse, yeah. So I personally don't own anything in my own personal name at all. It's just, there's no benefit to doing that in the States, right? Because you can write off a lot more off your taxes from owning a corporation. So that's the first thing, is we teach people how to build a foundation, LLC, building your personal credit in order to first then get your business credit, right? So the structure, super foundation stuff. And then we take them through like rigorous different phases of the Airbnb program that we have. So we break it down to 7 phases, right? Phase 1 is the LLC business stuff. Phase 2 is like actually looking for Airbnb properties, different markets. Phase 3 is like cold calling. Phase 4 is negotiation. Phase 5 is signing the lease, insurance companies, all that. And then phase 6 and 7 are like furnishing and setting up the listing.
Got it.
So it's a step-by-step process, and I do it in the form of like mentorship. So it's not a course. We don't just hand them, PDF and things to read. Like, it's actually something that I've done and I will continue to help people do, is to like partner up with them on deals, help them make phone calls, negotiate their deals. So that's what I personally do in the States with a lot of students.
I like it. So the big question I have is like, 0% interest on the Chase card. That's kind of what you're taking advantage of in most cases.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, so you get 0% interest, the 50,000. What are you using that for?
So obviously there's requirements to get the 50K. Not anyone can get 50K, right? You have to have a 680 credit score. You have to be at least 18 years old. You have to live in the United States and have a social security number. And you have to have an LLC. If you have those 4 things,
that's how easy it gets.
Anyone, like you dumb it down.
That's it.
You can go out to someone like me, like come to me, and I can use my bankers at Chase to get you up to like $50,000, or use my bankers at Bank of America or any of those other U.S. banks. So I'm kind of like, in a sense, have built up relationships with these banks so that I can get people higher approvals.
So then what are you doing with that 50? Is that for the arbitrage method, or is that actually for buying the real estate?
Arbitrage.
Oh, that's for the arbitrage route.
I like to start everyone off basics. Like,
got you. Okay.
In my opinion,
and that's for like the 25,000 investment for the furniture and all that, to get that going and get that up and running and put down your first month rent, last month deposit, and get it set up. So then the 50 grand, there's no way that could be enough for a down payment for someone to get things going, and it probably may not make sense, I guess, because
in my opinion, like, everyone wants to come into the real estate business. They've never done one real estate deal in their entire life, and they want to all of a sudden start buying houses. And I'm like, bro, that's like going into a dealership. You've never driven a car before. You don't have your driver's license, but you want to walk out with a Lamborghini just because you have the cash. Like, they're not going to give it to you. You're not going to get approved. So it's the same thing as like, let's go slow to go fast, right? So what I like to do with people who are just starting out in real estate, like beginners, they start them off with like 1 arbitrage, 1 or 2 arbitrages. They understand how the rental game works, how to communicate with landlords, how to communicate with cleaners, guests, handymans. And they understand the entire rental game at the cost of not taking on too much risk, because they're not buying the house. Right? So it's the easiest way to like get your feet wet without taking on all the liabilities of home ownership. If something breaks in the roof, if the HVAC blows up, so get a few of those deals first is what I tell these students. And then from there, we like to build up their portfolio, maybe do like 1 fix and flip a year, maybe do a couple Section 8s, maybe start to, acquire. It's like go slow to go fast type of thing with me.
I like it. I like the idea of the arbitrage leasing to be kind of the first step. It's almost like for realtors where, a lot of times realtors will start with leases and learn the leasing game, work with some landlords, some tenants, and kind of get into the business that way, and then kind of build their way up to buying and selling and all that. So I like that. I like that element of it. I've come across the arbitrage method locally, but it's not as popular here. I guess when you do that, you have to be super strategic with the location, the property, like you said, HOAs, all these different condos. You have to be really strategic because, so how are you finding in Dallas, how is the legislation for short-term rentals? Are you finding it to be very good and cooperative in these areas, or are you finding it to start to kind of, conflict with the business a little bit?
Yeah. So, like, rephrase that question again. Are you asking me
like legislations in terms of like, do you like need a license
just
for these
in
Airbnbs?
the U.S.?
I mean, I guess every neighborhood and every city is probably different, right?
Yeah.
So
it's really different. Yeah.
So would you say that Dallas as a whole is very short-term rental friendly, or is there different pockets and different things happening? Like, are you licensing your Airbnbs, or you don't have to do that?
Some areas. So I have like a 3-step like gauge on like whether I'm going to do a deal or not when it comes to restrictions. The first like red flag is, I guess, like the first thing I look out for is how long is it going to take to get permitting and licensing in that area
for short-term rentals.
Yeah, I ask myself this question, like, in areas like DC or Miami or LA that have restrictions, like how long is it going to take me to get my license, right? If in that particular city.
So just to confirm, you're getting a license for every Airbnb?
If they require it, correct.
If they require
it. We don't do anything against the city, federal laws, state laws.
Like how much percent of locations require it now?
I would say
over your portfolio.
For my portfolio, I like to avoid those restricted areas.
Really? Okay.
I like to just avoid them altogether.
Yeah.
But I would say we have maybe like 3 or 4 listings, like in Austin, San Antonio that have licenses, a couple in Florida that have licenses. But those are like quick, you apply for a license, you get a same day type of thing. Yeah. I don't like wait on any wait lists, or I don't do any of that stuff. It's just,
So it's probably like the places where Airbnbs are prominent, there's probably a licensing process, right? Like you said, Florida and these different places. So and do you find it just to be like a fee and done?
Yeah.
Or are they doing inspections, and like, is there like
some areas will come out and inspect the property, and then you have to run it by the city inspector, and then you have to fill out paperwork. Like, it's just too, I'm already dealing with enough complications in the business as is.
Yeah.
It's just not worth dealing with more. That's the way how my head processes and breaks down things, right? So I try to make the process as simple as possible, because I'm trying to put my shoes in the other 99% of my students, right? Not everyone's, like quick, ready to make decisions fast. Like some people are like, need more time, or some people are dyslexic. Like, so I'm trying to think of like how the average student is going to react when there's different restrictions, regulations. So I just like to avoid it altogether.
So you're leaning towards no restrictions.
Yeah.
But do you find that like it may be actually more dangerous to go there, because if restrictions come, you don't know what they can be, right? Versus a place that already has a licensing process, it's just part of the game?
That's a great question. So if you, from a macro perspective, right, if you took the entire 50 states of the United States, the only places that you'll really start to see restrictions are like hubs, cities, like downtown areas, right? New York, Washington, D.C., Miami, L.A. They're even trying to put restrictions into Dallas right now. They're like fighting in the city hall about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to go through, in my opinion, because that will really cause like a market like correction or something if they put restrictions in Texas. But
that's the thing that's happening here too, locally. Like a lot of municipalities and cities are looking at different things. Some have implemented, and that's the one thing that kind of concerns me a little bit with the Airbnb spaces. Is where that's going to go. That's why. Are you saying for those big cities, like,
avoid them?
But that's where the short-term rentals are needed. No, like that's like the primo spots where people are traveling.
You'll be surprised, bro. Some people like to stay 30 minutes away from Dallas, right, in neighborhoods, suburban areas, suburban markets. Like, people like to live in suburban areas. People like to have access to the city, but also like book out a family vacation and have a backyard and a pool and a single family house. So those are the types of properties we target. We don't like to, because then you're competing with like hotels and stuff.
That's right.
In the city. I don't like competition. There's already enough competition as is. So I'm trying to eliminate it as much as possible. So what I do is how I pick my properties is I draw like a 5-mile radius outside of the cities, and I'll pick like those I'll cherry pick those sub neighborhoods and sub markets around the city.
Yeah.
Those are the best in my opinion. Now, do I also have properties near, downtown Dallas? Sure, I do, but I like to like prioritize more like larger quality homes and like properties that
No, I get it. So you're focusing on like nice freehold properties.
Yeah.
And then you're Airbnb-ing out the whole property, or like are you cutting
entire
it up?
single family
entire
house.
single family house.
Yeah. That's how you charge like $500, $600, $700 a night, and as opposed to like $50 a night for my 1 bedroom. And
are you looking at like big lots? Is that a factor, or are you looking at is that a big factor?
Just like spacious, backyard or not, just spacious single family home. Something that's a home,
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they travel with big families and stuff, they can't all fit in one hotel room.
Yeah.
People like to stay together when they travel. It's like, you want to be with your brother, your sister, your mom, cooking in the house, people like that when they travel, is to be together.
Yeah.
So the way to capitalize on that, instead of having a bunch of 1-bedroom apartments that families can't cater to, get one big single family house. It'll probably make just as much money as 3 1-bedroom apartments. Right, so if you have to choose between operating one single house versus 3 different apartments, right, just a headache right there is like, might as well just stick with the one house, right? The money is there as well.
Yeah.
Right, because you can occupy more people, which means you can charge more per night, which means you'll make more revenue, which means you're just chugging in profit.
If you were to arbitrage versus buy, would the strategy be different? Like you're doing those houses on the arbitrage side?
Yeah.
But if you were to buy, you probably wouldn't do that property, or would you look at a nice single freehold kind of community house?
So in terms of evaluating the cash flow, it's going to be the same due diligence. Yeah. But buying a house has a different initial due diligence that I have to go through. Like property, I bring out multiple property inspectors, I test for mold, radon, the roof, HVAC. There's a lot of other things that you have to be accounting and making sure is ready to go, right? And then just a couple extra expenses too that you have to factor into your cash flow. Like when you buy a home, you now have to pay for home insurance, right?
Yeah.
That's not cheap, especially in Texas. It's not
Florida.
cheap. Property taxes, bro. You have to take that into consideration. You normally wouldn't care about the insurance and the taxes for an arbitrage, but you have to take that into consideration when buying something. And if you're in a place like Dallas, bro, or Texas, property taxes are a lot.
No, Florida is crazy too, right?
Yeah.
The insurance in Florida.
So it changes up the due diligence a little bit, and the numbers,
Yeah, so the only thing, honestly, that kind of concerns me with like the single family neighborhoods is the people that live there don't want the Airbnbs. And if there's, like, I'm always concerned because I have an Airbnb and I've kind of strategically purchased it in an area where I feel like tourism and those short-term rentals drive the market where they need it, kind of more than just the single family, because it's more of a vacation kind of place. But I feel like the single family play is difficult because if all those neighbors go to the city and say we don't want this, it's probably going to get voted that they're going to just, it's going to be like some heavy restrictions. So that's the one thing that scares me with that. That's why I'm kind of thinking like, what's the best play when it comes to Airbnbs? Like, I feel like something like an Orlando to me makes a lot of sense because I feel like tourism is just, that's part of the cult. Like that's what it is, right?
Yeah. But there's also a lot of competition in Orlando.
Yeah,
like,
there is.
Like you're gonna. That's how people think is like, I want to go, and I'm not saying your thought process is.
Well, no, I don't know anything. I'm just thinking out loud, and I'm talking to you to learn. Right?
That's why I'm having this. Like, that's why I love like talking to people on podcasts because I'm trying to just put out a different perspective out there, right? Yeah. So the average Joe will actually like say exactly what you told me, and that's originally what I thought too before starting out. I'm like, let's do Airbnbs in Miami and downtown this, downtown that. Like, first off, those are the areas that are going to get restricted first.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm assuming they already have like licensing and restrictions.
They already have licensing and restrictions. If not, those are the areas that will get licensing and restrictions first and get banned first. Why? Because you have to think about it. Who are you competing against when you're in those downtown areas, like the downtown Miamis, the Floridas, the Orlando? You're competing against hotels.
Yeah.
Hotel is a $1 trillion conglomerate business, right? And so like the average hotel owner hates the average Airbnb host because they're taking market share out of the hotels because no one wants to stay in hotels anymore. It's not a thing. Like when you travel with big families and stuff, how are you going to fit in a hotel, right? So that's why the hotel business is throwing so much money into like political lobbying and convincing these politicians to make restrictions because it fills up their pockets more than it does the average Joe who's trying to rent a property out on Airbnb.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of avoid that, right? But they don't put restrictions in any other areas unless you're like super, like it's super populated, it's a hotel area, hotel zone, traffic is very high. Like those are the areas that get restricted, not the single family style neighborhoods.
And so you're saying that the downtowns are getting restricted
faster.
There's pressure from the hotel.
Yeah.
But when you say restricted, like you can't, I don't think any major city, is there restrictions in major cities that are like beyond just getting a license?
Yeah, like New York, you can't even do Airbnb.
You can't do Airbnb.
In New York City, Airbnb is completely banned. Yeah. But in areas like DC, like Washington, DC, you can do it. You just have to own the house, and then you have to be living in the house as well. It's just different restrictions, but I generally like to avoid those areas.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's the New York thing. That's wild. So like, can you have a bed and breakfast? Like, what's the difference between an Airbnb and a hotel?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, just the zoning and permits, and it's heavily. Yeah. So there's 3 phases to like evaluating a restriction on a good Airbnb property, right? The first phase is if they just require you to go online and fill out a form to get a permit, right? To get a license number, which some areas do, most areas do, and that's so easy. You get it within 24 hours.
And is that most commonly free or is it paid?
Yeah, it's free.
Really?
The state just wants to know what's happening. That's all they care about. It's like, hey, fill out this form, we'll give you a license number, right?
Yeah.
The second restriction is like, all right, well, you have to fill out this form, you have to get a license number, and it's also going to take you 3 months to finally get your property permitted, right?
And is that like an inspection process?
Inspection, city inspector is going to come out, whatever, the whole 9 yards. Like it's a 3 month process, it's a 4 month process. Yeah. I don't like that. Yeah. Like I'll stop there. I'm good. You got me, bro. I don't even get involved. Right? And then the third layer of restrictions is like, some areas will come and say, hey, we'll give you a permit, we'll give you everything you want, but you can only do a minimum of a 30-day stay. Yeah. You can't rent it out short-term, less than 30 days. Restriction. I'm screwed then. Yeah. So I like to avoid number 2, number 3. The most I'll go is number 1 if people ask me to just sign up.
I would say number 1 is the play.
Number 1,
because even the 0 of no restrictions is more scary to me than anything, because you never know where that could be, because that could end up a 3 or a 2 in a year or 2, right? Yeah. So the 1 where it's already done, it's already gone through the city, it's there's a process, but it's super simple. I think that's the play to focus on, because the municipality that I'm in, they're going through the process, and like every municipality has already gone through it. Like in Cottage Country here, they've already kind of implemented different things, and it's different places have different restrictions, same idea. But they're going through it, and I don't know where it's gonna land. And it's like, that's the only thing that for Airbnbs that's a little bit concerning, right? Mm-hmm. But I think if you focus on the ones where it's already done, and even if there's a fee, it's like, okay, pay $1,000 a year or $500 a year, because I know some of them have that. I think that's a good way to go, where it's light restriction.
The easiest way to blow up your Airbnb business like incredibly fast is by getting yourself into moderately restricted areas. Right? Because if you have an area with 0 restrictions, it's an open market. Like the supply and demand is just going to always be there. Everything's going to be free flowing, right? And there's going to be a lot of competitors. Yeah. But a market that's mediumly and moderately restricted can help you grow your business, because it leaves a bottleneck and like a hard entry period, like the people who just weed themselves out, right? So if you have an Airbnb in a moderately restricted area, you're going to make more money.
I think that's the play,
because supply is going to be lower, 0 competitors or a little less in competition, and demand is going to be just chugging, just coming in hot.
Cool, man. So aside from Airbnb, you said like fix and flips. Like, are you looking at other opportunities? Yeah. What exactly kind? Because I know Ohio, I've heard some amazing. Cleveland, we're with EXP, so we have partners all over the states. Yeah. And we're looking at expanding in all the different states, our organization. But like some of the deals I'm seeing out there are just, numbers are pretty good. Like, what are you thinking is kind of the next step for you?
Yeah, so my main goal in life right now, apart from the entire Airbnb business, coaching, is like, I'm at the end of the day, like a lot of people look up to me in certain ways when it comes to Airbnb and real estate, but I am just as much of a student of life as they are, right? So even I have mentors. I've got 3 of them. I talk to them every other day, right? Trying to get another mentor right now to get into like more bigger transactions, commercial deals, multifamily deals, development deals, right? That's my next play. So yeah, I mean, my thing is like, as long as you're constantly learning, I don't care what it is, just put your head down for a year straight, give yourself, no alternatives, non-negotiables, just do your thing every single day and have a coach by your side.
Yeah.
No, and it's just impossible not to win.
That's it, man. Yeah, just surround yourself with the right people. I learned that too, because I kind of was solo on my own for a long time, just trucking along and making mistakes, learning, getting better. But when you surround yourself with a few good people and you continue to kind of be in the right circles, it's like I would say you never want to be like the smartest top guy in the group, right? That's a tough place to be. So
do you have any mentors yourself, or?
You know what, I would say I've been shy from, coaches and mentors my whole life. I've kind of, again, tried to figure everything out on my own, and it just cost me, thousands, if not millions of dollars in time and years. Yeah. Like, so right now, like for me, it's like I want to give back to the younger guys and make sure that, I share as much knowledge as possible. But I'm at a place now where I've surrounded myself with a lot of like good people that are doing some big things, and just being in those circles and, seeing some of the opportunities, it's just allowed me to really scale my business and make some big moves. So I think that's the key. And honestly, it was, for me, it was really like the opportunity of partnering with EXP and being around some big teams, being around some big people that are doing some investments and that sort of thing. So I think that's number one, is to really surround yourself with the right people. What I think is a big opportunity for you, because there's a lot of opportunity on the multifamily side here. And what I think, like from a diversification standpoint on multifamily, is like, let's say you have a 6 unit, you have a 10 unit, maybe a 15 unit, is to like take 2 or 3 of those units, make those Airbnbs in the multifamily. So now like you're optimized, like don't make the whole thing Airbnb, like that's a hotel essentially, but like I think that's where there's a lot of opportunity, because just alone on the Airbnb, like on the multifamily opportunities that I've seen in the States and even here, like you get an Airbnb, you get a multifamily, there's some optimizations, you could do some renovations, and in the States it's crazy because you can, give the tenants notice to leave, fairly easily, even though they don't do it. It's funny, it's like the legislations don't protect the tenants, but they're fairly protected. A lot of times, like the landlords are very reasonable, but there's a lot of opportunity to optimize that. But I think if you diversified some multifamily with a few Airbnb units, and it's like, I feel like there's less concern there, because if you own a building, it's a big lot, nobody's gonna really complain. Again, like the single family play concerns me, because like I'm in Burlington and we got some good people out here that really take care of the community, and but they're very particular about what's going on, right? So I just find in this like single family neighborhoods, the Airbnb play could get tricky, right? That's why I think there's a lot of opportunity to like diversify Airbnb into some of that.
Yeah, multifamily for sure.
Yeah.
The reason why I gravitated towards single families in the beginning so much is because I look at everything from a 10x lens.
Yeah.
Right. So like I have my goggles on 24/7. Like if this activity right here, for example, buying one house can be low ROI now because I have to put so much money and time into it. But how can I 10x it? How can I do 10 houses at a time?
Yeah.
How can I do 10 units at a time? How can I do 10 deals at a time?
You know what I would do? I would hit up all the multifamily guys.
Yeah.
And ask them if you can get 10 of their units in the multifamily and arbitrage it. You know what I mean? And see if that would work. Like, you know what I mean? I think that would be a flex. That would
be a big flex.
Flex.
But I think the main issue with like today's society is a lot of people online and social media will say, I've got 1,000 units or 1,000 doors in real estate and this, and I'm like, dude, how much of those doors are actually making like profit? Are you just getting quantity? Are you just racking up the total? Like, is that all you really care about? Because in my opinion, my 20 properties do more in revenue. It's not even an opinion, it's a fact, because I post everything online. Like my 20 properties do more revenue than hundreds and 200s of these influencers' units and everything. So like when I look at whether to pick a single family house or to sign Airbnb units, in my head I know that one single family house equals 3 units in terms of revenue, of how much it's going to bring in terms of headache, of how much headache you're going to have to deal with. But I would rather just deal with one in the luxury single family, and instead of having too many units and too many headaches to, like, why would I have 3 different cleaners, deal with 3 different handymans, deal with like 3 different...
If they're in the same multifamily building, the cleaner could just bang, bang, bang,
of course,
bang.
yeah. That could be a play, but...
It could be an efficiency, but I see what you're saying. It's like you can make the same money with one house rental that you can make with like 5 or 6 if it's like a 1-bedroom unit. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because that's something I can 10x, right? Like I could get 10 houses.
Yeah.
And that would be getting 10 Airbnb single families would be the exact equivalent of having 100 units.
Yeah.
One apartment, 2 apartment units.
Yeah, 1-bedroom units versus
and you're just dealing with less headache, and you can scale it out faster.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you can get like exactly like you said, one multifamily building. But a lot of people don't do that. They just go to different apartment complexes and sign.
No, I think the play is like go to the multifamily guys and just like try to arbitrage a little, floor or a little few units. And then, because you can probably take their rents and double them and whatever, triple them. And that could be a nice way to even get into the multifamily space, right?
Yeah. I'm looking for some quadplexes right now in Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the play. Especially so Texas has Dallas. Yeah. Right? Dallas area is like uptown, downtown area, whatever. But like north of Texas is a city called Frisco, like near Plano, Frisco, Texas area. And Frisco all the way up to like Sherman, which is like even more north. So like an hour north from Texas is where they're just going to start building. There's like a multi-billion-dollar project to extend Highway 75 into like all the neighborhoods, submarkets. Like if you go on Google Maps right now and you put in like Frisco, Texas, you'll see it's just green. There's just land. But they're going to build that city out, and that's the place to be, because that market, that's how you see like these houses in Texas that are like freaking multi-million-dollar mansions in like these areas, but they're like $300K.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? You seen those?
Yeah.
Like 6-bedroom house, pool, jacuzzi, sauna, like steam room, all in one massive mansion, and it's like a $300,000 house. I'm like, so like those are the types of things they're building in Texas, bro. And those prices, in the next 10 years, I was reading this article, and they said in the next 10 years, the Texas market's going to be untouchable. Like it'll be impossible to get in, just like LA, just like Miami now, just like Florida. It'll be impossible to get into the Texas market. But the reason why it's so open and free right now is because there's just so much land that's undeveloped.
Yeah.
And God's not making any more of that.
That's it. Right?
So these developers are just going in and building and building and building.
I've heard a lot of good things about Texas.
That's why I moved there, bro.
Yeah. So I think I was confused. Do you do stuff in Ohio?
I don't know.
No, okay. I think I got confused because I kept mentioning like Ohio, I think. So you're operating mainly in Dallas?
Yeah, so we just moved.
You live in Dallas?
Yeah, so we just moved. I was born and raised like near the capital, like near the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
And then we recently moved to Dallas just because it's more investor friendly. It's a hub.
Yeah.
I travel a lot across the U.S., so like just having the comfort of, getting a nonstop flight to anywhere I want to go.
That's it, yeah.
Right? Because I'm in the middle. So it's just a lot of things are just starting to click. Plus, a lot of my Airbnb units are out here in Texas.
Got you.
So I figured it would be
the majority of the Airbnbs are in Texas?
Yeah.
But are you able to acquire and set up Airbnbs remotely?
Yeah.
So you got that
Yeah, I got properties in Maryland, Virginia, DC, Florida, Texas, Massachusetts, California.
On the arbitrage.
And Mexico. Yeah, I got property arbitrage.
And then do you always need a local person?
Yeah.
You always need local resources?
I have local cleaners, local handymans, local electricians.
But do you have like a local like go-to guy or go to like a maintenance person or just like somebody that can do like a few different things?
Yeah, so here's the thing about running a rental business is like having a great cleaner is everything.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah, the cleaner is the person. Yeah.
The cleaner is your undercover property manager.
That's it.
in an Airbnb operation, right? Because you got to think about it. Who's going to be moving into the house, cleaning things every single day? Like, who's seeing the house more often? Like, who's the guy on the ground? It's the cleaner.
That's the cleaner.
If anything breaks, my cleaner lets me know. If anything gets stolen, she notifies me.
Yeah.
She sends me before and after pictures of all the cleans. I don't even talk to her or text her. We just communicate through
What's the good cleaner rate these days in the States?
Per house?
Yeah.
My cleaners clean my houses for like $100. Really? Yeah, I get them down low.
The big ones.
And then on Airbnb, I charge $250 for a cleaning. So I actually make revenue from cleanings as well.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's
the only
amazing.
way to do it.
That's amazing. Are you doing like
time.
a smart home kind of package for all your properties? Do you have some technologies that you're putting in every property?
Yeah, so we have a lock system that is a door lock and a camera at the same time.
Got it.
So you put it on the door, and then you can see who's coming in and out, and then you can edit the codes and stuff from your phone.
What, you mind sharing that model?
It's called Lockly.
Lockly, it's another one, because I know
Lockly,
there's Master Lock has one with the Bluetooth thing, but not the camera.
Yeah, it has camera attached, so we no longer have to get a separate Ring camera and then a separate lock. It's all synchronized into one camera, one lock, one platform.
Yeah.
So my property manager has like 30 different eyes everywhere.
That's it.
That's his job, bro. That's what he does. So
that's the main piece. It's just the all-in-one lock, Bluetooth, and camera. Nothing else, eh? Like I heard there's something where like you can calculate the decimals in the house.
Noise monitor.
Yeah.
So our guests are pretty screened out. Like very, very like screened out before they come and check into any of our houses. We request ID, sometimes even passport, just any sort of driver license. We don't send them the check-in message unless they tell us who's coming into the house, the ages and the names of the guests, and all of their IDs.
Yeah.
Like we require that, right?
All of the guests' IDs?
Everyone in the house, yeah.
Every guest is
Every
given an
guest.
ID?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Not just the booking person?
Mainly the booking person, but if we
You're
can
getting
get
all the guests?
Yeah.
And then what percentage would you say is Airbnb verbal, and are you doing direct?
Yeah, we're doing direct, we're doing booking.com, we're doing, sometimes Expedia. It's most of our revenue comes through Airbnb and booking.com. Depending on the location, like some of my locations, some of my properties, we get more verbo bookings, like in Florida areas.
Are you doing anything to like grow that direct? Are you doing some marketing on the side or anything?
Not really. If it's like a crazy Airbnb we have in the hills and it's like a unique cottage with a tree house, like if it's something I can put on TikTok and market out, then like we'll build a following base around that, because that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But if it's just a random single family house in a random neighborhood, like there's no way we can really like.
So you're building out some assets for the property, like a Facebook page or.
No, not really. Unless it's like a crazy Airbnb unit that we have, which we haven't really gotten any of those. Yeah, it's mainly just we throw it up, and because like before we sign a lease, we know how much it's gonna make. We know, like we can look at other comparables in the area. It's like you're selling a house, right? How do you come up with your home price when you want to sell? You don't just make up a number. You have to look at other houses nearby, identical to yours, to figure out what they sold for. It's like running a CMA analysis. And then once you figure out the house down the street sold for 1.2 million, and the house, down the other block sold for 1 million, then you can probably price yours somewhere in the middle. So we do the same thing with the Airbnbs. Is we have our own comps. We figure out what other properties rent out for, and then that's what we project and expect to make on our own.
And I know in the States you guys got some really good resources for like finding the data. Like the data is pretty available, right?
The data is pretty available. So, a lot of people just don't know how to read it, but the data is pretty available.
Yeah. Cool. So tell me a little bit more about Dallas. I'm really interested about Dallas, about Texas. Like I know the rates are good, like the taxes and stuff. And
yeah, zero income tax in Texas. The only caveat on the same token is that they take that from the property taxes.
Gotcha.
So the property taxes are expensive. There's zero income tax.
Gotcha.
But if you own a house, you're pretty much paying,
The property taxes are up there.
You're paying, the property taxes.
What's like an average property tax for like a single family house, give or take?
I would say like anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
So it could be $5,000, but the house is worth like $500,000 or like $300,000.
Yeah.
So that's where they get you.
I've seen $300,000 houses that require you to pay like $8,000-$9,000 in property tax every year. It's based on just a.
That's a crazy ratio, though.
Yeah.
That percent is pretty. Yeah, that percent is really high. So I wonder what's gonna happen once those turn to $1 million properties.
Yeah.
You're gonna like triple up the property taxes.
Yeah, bro. I mean, the biggest difference between cash flow of a unit that's an arbitrage and a unit that you own is the property taxes and then the insurance.
Yeah.
Those two shoot up.
Yeah.
If you own a house, it's going to require more. You're going to have to pay a lot more in insurance and the property taxes, and those two will kill your cash flow.
Feel the cash flow, yeah.
That's the only bad thing is when you own a house, you have more monthly expenses. You have more yearly expenses. It kills the cash flow.
So you find, like the lease amount usually is a little bit less than actually like
the cash
ownership
cows.
cost.
The cash cows. If you want to make a very, very handsome amount of cash flow every single month, go take the arbitrage method, because that's where the cash flow play is. If you're trying to like get more long-term benefits, tax benefits, equity, build up ownership, appreciation into a house, go become a homeowner. Right? And then you can have a little middle of both as well.
Got it. Anything else good in Dallas and Texas? Like that's really,
it's
really, I guess
it's a red state. It's super investor friendly. Everyone's nice. I feel like in the South, people are just nicer. That's what I've experienced. Like you go to the East Coast where I'm from, like everyone's calling each other. It's just I feel like the closer you are to a city like New York, Washington D.C., the more people just have something going on, bro. Like they're just stressed out. They're it's just a fast,
a little bit more lean back
lifestyle.
Dallas is a little bit more lean back.
Laid back, chill. A lot of people, good vibes all around wherever you go. A lot of investors. It's a red state, so it's not as conservative. It's not as liberal. It's not liberal at all.
Tell me a little bit why'd you come through in Canada and what the goals are here. What are you thinking?
So we're in Canada right now on a media tour. We did a bunch of podcasts and interviews with some big name people around here, Jastakar, Ron Sally, yourself, and mainly just to look to build relationships and connections with different people. I'm all about that. Like that's it. I love traveling because I experience new culture, new people, new experiences. I'm all about like what's new. So that's why we're here.
What do you think is the biggest opportunity here? Like, because I'm trying to it's a lot different, right? Like a lot of things are different here. Like I don't think some of the lending opportunities you were saying with these 50,000 kind of interest-free loans, I haven't heard of anything here that's similar. That's a really good program that you have that you're able to make available to the people you coach. But what do you think is the biggest opportunity here in terms of a collaboration potentially?
Yeah, it's still too early to tell. We're talking to the team and going over some things to help out Canadians, but we're gonna try to figure out a way to help Canadians get into the Airbnb business, start investing their money. There's a lot more restrictions here, a lot more things that we're gonna have to look into. It's a big play. It's not as easy as the US.
It's a big play though, the Airbnb. It's a big play.
Big play.
I think if you can really start building up that database of those ones, right? Have those ones in a nice database and be able to help. Because I know a lot of Canadians do want to invest in the States. Like right now especially, Canada's kind of in a rut. A lot of people took their money out of Canada. So I know in Orlando, that's one place that I've been kind of looking at and not thoroughly, but just, I understand there's lots of tourism. I know there's properties for some good prices, and I would imagine that the Airbnb makes sense. But, just figuring out what product, what area, and having the teams ready to go, I think there would be a good opportunity to maybe help Canadians, invest in some of those opportunities. If you can be that, go-to person that not only makes sure that, everything is good on the licensing side and all that. I think that's a big opportunity, because I know the States is doing fairly well, especially places like Florida and Texas. Seem very optimistic. So that would be cool to see if we can work on some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can figure out a way to partner up together too, bro. Do some deals together.
Yeah, man, that's it. Awesome. Any other thoughts on Canada, man? How's it been? What's your thoughts? How's it different? We don't carry arms here, but
I haven't had any maple syrup yet, but everything else is good. I mean, the food, it seems a little healthier. It's more on the European side. Okay. I still see a lot of similarities, like fast food and Popeyes and this and that, which I don't like at all, but a lot of similarities, some differences.
Yeah.
It depends. People here are nicer until you get on the road.
Okay, yeah, really, eh?
It seems like, people are always angry on the highway. I don't know what's going on with the highways here. Yeah. Cutting people off. I was driving to the podcast earlier, and some dude on a biker literally just cut our car off and almost got hit.
Yeah, everybody's hard behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And then, no, I can imagine the States being a little bit more you know, you gotta make sure you're
In
you're,
Texas,
you're,
everyone's strapped.
everyone's
right?
strapped, so you gotta be in
like,
check,
you know,
right?
You don't see any road rage going on. You know?
No, you don't want nothing popping off.
Yeah. So.
Cool, man. Any other? So overall, been a good experience. Good, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
definitely gonna have to come back. Got
Yeah,
another some media events, potentially another tour next month in September.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a seminar or like a tour with some of the guys out here as well.
Yeah. That's
So yeah,
awesome.
we'll definitely have to connect because
Yeah.
we're also going to be hosting a bunch of events in the States. If you want to
Love
ever
it, man.
fly out there, you know,
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
We just had Jas Takar on one of our events.
Really, eh?
In DC, he flew out to my event to speak at my event.
So these are events you're putting together?
Yeah.
And what kind of people are you kind of
young, hungry, hustlers, investors,
Got
people
you.
who want to get into the business, people who are already in the business, kind of like a mixer, you know,
Yeah.
free for all. And then some events we'll charge for. It'll be like more speaking, educational based.
Yeah, man.
So we'll do different structures, and then we could add you to the board.
Yeah,
And
I'd love to talk about that because, like I said, we're expanding into the States. We want to get partners in every state, and I'm actually like we're going to EXPCon in Miami. There's another event one of our partners is doing in Ohio, a big event in September. So yeah, and we got some good people here that like to throw events too. So we can all collaborate and even get some sponsors and stuff like that. I know some good people. So yeah, that's awesome. And listen, Fared Abini, man, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Appreciate
it was a great
you,
chat,
brother.
man.
Thank you,
Thanks,
bro.
man. Appreciate it.